Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time of the day you're watching this broadcast. This is Dr. Eric Tangumon came with IEM approach, where we inspire, equip, and motivate people to discover God's great potential in them, develop that potential, and deploy it. I want to thank you so much for joining us today. The purpose of this broadcast is to inspire, is to bring hope, is to bring life where there is death, and is to shine light where there is darkness. You've done a good thing by tuning in, and I want to commend you for that. We've been talking about Joesph and what we can learn from his life as far as racism is concerned. The life of Joesph is like an onion. There are many layers to his life. And for the next couple of days, we are going to peel it one layer after the other. There is so much that we can learn from him that will help us move forward. If you want to talk about betrayal, Joesph went through it. If you want to talk about false accusations, Joesph went through it. If you want to talk about discrimination, he faced discrimination. If you want to talk about enslavement, he faced it. If you want to talk about false imprisonment, he faced it. In our last broadcast, I shared the first part of Joseph's story. And today, we are going to finish that story and start looking at some of the great lessons the life of Joesph has for us. Before we move forward, you may be wondering, what can I do to support this venture? You can do that on Patreon, or there are three things that you can do. The first one is to invite other people to share this broadcast with us. And then you click that share button and you share the broadcast, or you subscribe to my YouTube channel. And the last thing is to get a copy of this book, Racism, Where Is Your Sting? A provocative look at the beginning and the end of racism. I did not write a book to create more animosity. I did not write a book to propagate more hate. It's a message of hope. It's a message of deliverance. It's a message of peace. You're going to love it. Don't only get a copy for yourself, get many copies for other people. And if you need more than one copy, reach out to me. We have huge discounts that will help facilitate that. Before I continue today on Joesph, his brothers, and racism, I'm just going to highlight a few things from the first part of his story. Joesph was hated by his brothers because he was their father's favorite son. He had a coat of many colors, and Joseph had huge dreams. His brothers did not like the dreams. They did not like him. They hated him, not because he looked different from them, not because he came from a different ethnic group. He was their brother. They hated him to the point where they plotted to kill him, not because of his skin color. All of them had the same skin color. And that is why I would say what I've kept saying. Racism is a smokescreen separating humans into different races based upon their skin color. It's a terrible idea. It has no basis. We have to stop it. It's nonsense. The color of somebody's skin does not define who they are. While some of you may think, oh, I am over belaboring the point, you understand what the sentiment of judging people based upon the color of their skin has done. If you have a team and members of the team look down on other members because of the color of their skin, that's a dysfunctional team. It's going to cost you productivity. It's going to cost you money. We must get to the place where we recognize that the human spirit has no color. That is the truth. It's a fact. The brothers of Joseph, after they sold him into slavery to Egypt, they went and lied to their father that his son, their brother, had been torn into pieces by some wild animal. It's shocking that they concocted this lie and their father believed it. How many lies have we been told regarding humans? That some are colored and some are uncolored? Is that true? Is everybody not having some amount of pigmentation? Have you ever met a colorless human being? And even those we call white and black, those are lies that have been concocted. And we've believed them. It's time to pull behind the veil and call things for what they are. The brothers of Joseph thought covering their evil was not going to come up. They lied and they sat quiet, but they didn't see the bigger scheme of things. Joseph was in Egypt, as we heard last time. He had become the second in command in Egypt. He had become the prime minister. His brothers were clueless. We're talking about 13 years had passed since they sold him into slavery. Things are going to get really interesting. Because while his brothers are in Canaan, the famine that had brought Joseph to become the second in command in Egypt hit the region. His brothers became hungry and suggested to their father that they've heard that there's grain, there's food in Egypt. And so they went down to Egypt to buy food for the family. When they showed up in Egypt, they were not expecting what their eyes were about to see. They were not expecting what they were about to hear. They showed up in Egypt, and as the story goes, Joseph is the big shot. Joseph recognizes his brothers. His brothers, in their wildest imagination, could not make Joseph out. I think part of it is they just did not believe that a slave for that much could become the second in command in Egypt. Maybe that is why they did not make him out. Joseph was completely changed. He saw his brothers, and we are told he excused himself, went into the room, and wept. Then he came out, instructed those, and he inquired about them. And they told him, oh, we used to be 12, now we are 11. One died, they're lying again. He inquired if his father was still alive. And their father, they told him, our father is still alive. Joseph pressed them and gave them a hard time. Told them that they were spies, just to make sure he knew who they were. And he decided to keep one of them in prison and told them that you have to go back and bring your other brother, because only 10 of them showed up. And Benjamin, who was Joseph's brother, did not come with them. And then Joseph instructed his servants to put back their money in the sacks of grain that they were carrying. The brothers left Egypt not knowing that the man they had met was Joseph. On the way home, they stopped to feed their animals. One of them opened his bag and saw that the money that they had paid for the grain had been returned to them. This scared them, and they checked, and all their bags were having their money inside. So when they went back, they told Joseph. This time around, they spoke the truth. One of our brothers is in prison in Egypt because the prime minister in Egypt has insisted that we need to bring our younger brother Benjamin to come and see him. Jacob, their dad, said, this is not going to happen. I am not going to lose another son. I've already lost Joseph. Simeon is in Egypt. It's not going to happen. They waited, and all the grain they brought, they used it. They became hungry again, and they had to go down to Egypt. It is during this second trip in Egypt that Joseph is going to do the unthinkable. And I want you to listen very carefully, because we are living in a day and time when the likes of critical race theory are raising their ugly head and propagating ideas that are very destructive. We cannot continue to hold other people accountable for crimes they did not commit. And even those who committed a crime, there is something called forgiveness. It's a higher road. It's a road of freedom, of true liberty. And that is what we should be focusing on. The brothers of Joseph are coming to Egypt for the second time. And it is during this second time that Joseph is going to make himself known to his brothers. There are a few things that I want to make sure we look at to see how powerful this was. Now, when Joseph's brothers showed up hungry, vulnerable, and desperate, Joseph decided to do the unthinkable. He invited his brothers to come to his house and eat with him. because they had come back with Benjamin, and now they were 11 plus Joseph, they were 12. But the brothers did not know that Joseph was the person that he was. They thought he was an Egyptian prime minister. Now, Joseph had to make sure that his brothers came to his house. They didn't mingle with the Egyptians because we are told that the Egyptians considered the Hebrews to be detestable. That is a very strong word. You talk about racism. That was discrimination of the highest category. Now, can you imagine how ethnocentric the Egyptians were? If you want to use the word racism, you can as well. But I've been advocating that we should move away from talking about racism because there's one human race. And we should talk about ethnocentrism, which is a mistaken belief that an ethnic group is superior to other ones. See, they considered Hebrews detestable to the point where they could not even eat with them. Now, this is a prime example of discrimination at work. But the Egyptians had to swallow their pride and disdain for Hebrews by allowing this Hebrew slave Joseph to become the second and most powerful person in the entire country. Now, I bring this up because there is a profound lesson that all who want to make a difference should learn. Joseph was a slave, caught and sold by his own brothers, sent to prison for a crime he did not commit. But we don't see him complaining and grumbling and murmuring. We're going to understand why when we start looking at the lessons to learn from his life. But I want to bring this up here, that instead of complaining and grumbling about how you are being treated, what should you do? You should be focusing on providing solutions. When Joseph provided a solution in Egypt, all the discrimination fell at his feet. When people provide solutions, doors will open and their situation will change. When you provide solutions, doors will open and the situation will change. That's what happened. Now, when the brothers of Joseph showed up, it's amazing that instead of blaming his brothers, ridiculing them, or pointing an accusing finger against them and demanding justice, Joseph wept. And before Joseph wept, we are told that he sent out all the Egyptians that were in the room. Joseph was creating a private moment. He didn't want to disgrace his brothers. He didn't want to put them on the spot. So he sent out all the Egyptians. Now he was left with his brothers. It is written in Genesis 45:3 that Joseph said to his brothers, after he's gone to the room and wept, washed his face and came back, he said to his brothers, I am Joseph. Is my father still alive? Imagine his brothers. It is written, but his brothers were not able to answer him because they were terrified at his presence. Those who perpetrate crimes against other people, they are the ones to live in fear. They are the ones to live in terror because their consciences are troubling them. That is why you don't want to live in terror by not forgiving, by not seeing the big picture, understanding what is actually happening. We're going to spend some time opening this layer by layer so you can actually understand who is in the place of terror and fear. Now, these brothers. They sold their brother. They said they wanted to kill him. They hated him to the point where they didn't care what they did with him. Sold him for 20 pieces of silver. Sent him to Egypt. And now they are standing before him. He is now the second most powerful man in Egypt. He had the ability to kill them. They were at his mercy. Instead, Joseph wept. His brothers were in total shock and disbelief because they could not understand how a slave had become the second most powerful man in the most powerful country in the world at that time. They could not speak. Now, Joseph did not wait for his brothers who had wronged him to speak or ask for forgiveness or even plead for their lives. Instead, he forgave his brothers without any precondition or demands. Now, what followed are some of the most beautiful verses in the entire Bible. I want to read it to you. You listen to it carefully because it's very powerful. Remember, Joseph, hated by his brothers, sold by them, went to Egypt, and his life was not easy. He spent years in prison for no crime that he committed. His life was not easy. I'm not saying that atrocities, what people do, I'm not saying that it's not painful. I'm not undermining it. However, we are not at the mercy of pain. We can use that pain to grow. We can use that, leverage that pain for better things. And this is what Joseph was doing here. The brothers are terrified. They can't answer him. It's like a deer caught in the headlights of a car in the middle of the night. What? Joseph, you? Whoa. All these years we've been living a lie. What are we going to tell our father now that Joseph is? What are we going to do? What in the world? His dreams are coming true. He's not a leader. I pity the brothers. Then Joseph said to his brothers, "Come close to me." When they had done so, he said, "I am your brother Joseph, the one you sold into Egypt." It's amazing that he's telling, yeah, I'm the one you guys sold. I like Joseph, straightforward, plainly spoken. He's not reminding them that they sold him because it's an act of malice. No, he's just telling them this is what transpired. And now, do not be distressed and do not be angry with yourselves for selling me here, because it was to save lives that God sent me ahead of you. What? What is he saying? Most of us will be like, guys, this is the time for you to reap what you sowed. You evil bastards. Why did you sell me? I suffered so much. I lost my youth. You guys there hated me for no good reason and sent me to Egypt? No. Joseph is saying, you guys, you don't know what you were doing. Take it easy. Don't be distressed. Yes, you sold me. Joseph did not deny the evil, but he was able to see how that evil became good. He said, look, you guys, don't be distressed. It was God who sent me. It was God who sent me ahead of you people to save lives. For 2 years now, There has been famine in the land, and for the next 5 years, there will be no plowing or reaping. But God sent me ahead of you to preserve you for a remnant on earth and to save your lives by a great deliverance. So then, whoa. So then, it was not you who sent me here, but God. So then, it was not you who sent me here, but God. He made me father to Pharaoh, lord of his entire household, and ruler of all Egypt. Can you imagine what is going on here? Joseph had the power to destroy his brothers who sold him into slavery and caused him to suffer for 13 years, but refused to use that power to seek revenge from his brothers. Instead, he said they should not be angry for selling him. Imagine that. Those advocating for payback time. Don't go down that path. What was Joseph thinking by letting these criminals go free? Then Joseph did the unthinkable by vindicating his brothers with the following statement. He said that what? So then, it was not you who sent me here, but God. It was not you who sent me here, but God. As painful, as difficult as the situation may be, we cannot remain in the place of pain, hate, regret, remorse, and vengeance. We cannot afford to remain in that place. Joseph understood that. He told his brothers, he reminded them, I am Joseph, whom you sold. He did not deny the evil. He did not deny the atrocity. He did not deny their act of evil. However, he was able to rise up above what his brothers were trying to do because God took over. God took over. God took over. There is a complete section for my African American brothers. Yes, I'm going to get into deep trouble for daring to touch on that. However, I will, because I'm already dead meat. I will. The parallel between Joseph and my African American brothers is just too glaring that I have to bring the topic up because their ancestors were caught and sold by the African brothers and brought to the United States out of their will. Millions perished. The few that survived were not only tortured, they were forced to work, they were raped, abused, and just mistreated. It's just this despicable things were done to them. Unimaginable things were done to them. A lot of evil was perpetrated against them. And nobody should ever deny that. However, as we are going to see, it takes the ability to understand the big plan of God, to rise up above this and provide solutions and make a difference. Joseph did not have to change the Egyptian system. What he did was he saw a problem. He provided a solution that changed everything. God is a God of redemption. He always has the final say. Where was God when the brothers of Joseph caught him and sold him? Where was God when this woman accused him wrongly? And that is why we need to understand the place of suffering. We need to understand God's divine plans and purposes. I'm going to dig deeper into that. Today, we're looking at the brothers of Joseph and how Joseph decided to take the step he knew better, not to go down the road of vengeance, the road of anger, the road of bitterness, the road of unforgiveness. He chose the high road. It's Mandela who said, refusing to forgive somebody is like drinking poison and wishing that person would die. Refusing to forgive somebody is like drinking poison. You drink the poison, and as you are drinking, you're like, oh, let me drink and let the person who hurt me die. Isn't that foolishness of the highest category? We are not refusing your pain. We're not refusing the abuse. We're not refusing the mistreatment. We're not refusing it. But we are saying there is another way. There is another alternative. You can be free today. You can rise up and blossom. Because all those who have been trying to destroy you don't have the final say. They've just been propping you and positioning you for the next big thing. Are you seeing it? Are you believing it? Can you step into it? We are going to dig deeper. I want you to stay in touch. I want you to stay tuned. Those who forgive are stronger. Those who forgive are wiser. Those who forgive are smarter. Those who forgive prevail. After Joseph reminded his brothers that you sold me, he turns around and makes this statement. So then it was not you who sent me here, but God. Joseph was acting weird here, isn't it? Not only was he delusional in offering the olive branch to his brothers and forgiving them, even though they did not ask for his forgiveness, he was saying that his brothers did not commit the very crime they had admitted to committing and were even terrified of. In fact, before they had this encounter with Joseph, the brothers had said among themselves that God may be punishing them for what they had done to their brother. When things were not going the way they thought, when Simeon was caught and locked and there were all the confusion going on, because when he came in the second time, Joseph gave them food, they ate, they were happy, he gave them gifts. Then he put his cup in the back in one of the sacks of the brothers, and on their way back, he sent his servants. They went and told them, oh, why did you guys steal our master's cup? The brothers were like, no, we none of us stole the cup. And one of them said, if you find a cup in anybody's bag, that person is going to be taken back and the person will be a slave. And the servant found the cup in Benjamin's sack. And the brothers were really broken because Judah had promised their father that He was going to do everything to bring Benjamin back. And here he was. Now Benjamin had been caught with a cup. And they were confused. They didn't know what to say. And they started thinking among themselves, maybe God is punishing us because of what we did. You don't need to worry. You don't need to worry. Those that are perpetrating evil, they don't sleep. It may appear as if they're sleeping, they don't. There is no peace for the wicked. There is no peace for the wicked. Don't bother about it. Vengeance is mine, says the Lord. You need to focus on yourself. Was Joseph out of his mind for suggesting that his brothers had not done anything wrong and that they should not be distressed for selling him? Was he thinking? What was he saying here? Why did he bring God's name in this mess? His brothers sold him. He said it, then he turns around and says, oh, brothers, you sold me. However, don't worry about it. I'm in distress. God sent me. What is Joseph drinking here? What is he trying to say? Did you hold that thought? We'll continue from there next time. I want to thank you so much for sticking around with me. You've been listening to a fascinating story about Joseph, his brothers, racism, and the fact that discrimination, hatred, anger, betrayal, slavery, are issues of the heart, has nothing to do with skin color. There are 3 things I'd like you to do for me: subscribe, invite people, share, and get a copy of this book. It's going to change your life. Thank you. Have a fantastic day. And if you have any comments, please let me get them. I can't interact with you live because we're streaming this on multiple channels. However, if you leave your comments, I'll attend to them. Let me know what you're thinking. God bless you. Have a fantastic rest of your day.